Welcome to Benjamin's Dream and the Dreamers Podcast.
Hey, listeners, this is podcast number 6. This is week 3 in fantasy football. We're going to do the same thing we did last week. We're going to call up each individual of the league, of my league, and see how they did, who they picked up, who they're disappointed with, and then we'll probably get asking opinion questions on the week, power rankings and things like that, but we'll see how it goes. So let's call up Mike first like we did last week and see what he has to say.
Hello.
Hey, Mike, what's up?
Hey, not too much. How's it going?
Oh, pretty good. So, what?
What were you going to say?
I was going to say something about you being 0-2, but then I realized you're the only person that's 0-2, so I wasn't going to start it that way, so I was trying to figure out a better way to start it.
Okay. Yeah, whatever you want to do, man. I'll answer whatever.
Yeah, I gotcha. How disappointed were you with your team in week 2 compared to week 1, or were you at least more optimistic?
I mean, ironically, I was disappointed because I lost again, but my team actually scored 1 point more. So Travis killed me, but then looking at the scores, I think I'm like 4th in point scores, so I'm not doing that bad. Just bad. Like, I would have beat 6 other people if I would have played them. Just Travis had more. He had
130 points, 140 points.
37 and a half. The next highest was 114.
I know. I improved off my week 1 total, I think, but not by much. I mean, it was only 10 points.
Yeah. You're about the same as me, yeah. You're 96.9, 97.5. Yeah, we're about the same. Yeah, you improved about 5 points. Yeah, so, I mean, I was, like, kind of downtrodden, but then, I mean, honestly, Travis would have destroyed everybody, so he just had a great week.
Right, I know. I hate that. Sometimes, like, I've lucked out most weeks, but, like, there's always, like, that one person that, like, has the worst of the week in terms of the matchup. Like, their opponent will score, like, 30 more points than everyone else, but for no reason. But, like...
That's why I hate looking. I'm like, I shouldn't have just looked. Like, if I would have played most people, I would have won. I hate that.
Right, yeah. So you decided, I mean, I think this is basically based off Buffalo's defense is not good at all, but you decided not to play Cam this week? Or is that still like a game?
I think I'm going to play Cousins because Buffalo's so bad.
Right, that's what I'm saying, yeah.
Been outscoring Cam. I think he's number 2 right now in our standard scoring, like, as a quarterback, so I think I'm going to play him.
Right, I don't see it's not too bad. I think technically Cincinnati's defense isn't awful. Well, compared to Buffalo, they're great.
They're not awful, yeah. I mean, Cincinnati was all right this year, so, I mean, I think I'm going to go with Kirk.
Right, yeah. How is David Johnson been panning out, or no?
Not really, but, I mean, that team's just so bad. But my hope is that now Larry Fitzgerald's hurt. Hopefully, honestly, they're just going to, like, probably should just run the ball. Like, they're so bad.
Right.
And Bradford's so, like... So I still have hope for him. I'm not giving up hope on David Johnson at all. I think he'll be all right.
No, I think he'll pan out with time. I think Sam Bradford could maybe make them 500, but if they put it in the rookie Josh Rosen, I think David Johnson will eventually get better because he'll get used to like a consistent quarterback. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I think either way. I mean, even if they're bad, he gets a lot of touches, so that's the only upside to that.
Mm-hmm. Did you try to attempt to pick up anyone this week?
I did not. No, I didn't mess around with waiver wire too much. Did you get anybody?
I think I did because my kicker, Greg, I should know his last name. They used to call it last week. Yeah, you had him last year. Yeah. He got hurt this week, but it didn't matter. He got me 0 points again. Or not again, but he got me 0 points, but it didn't matter because I won by like 10 or something. Or no, Chase had 2 injured players or something. But so I picked up, oh my God, this is going to drive me nuts. Dan Bailey. He plays for Minnesota now, and I'm hoping at least once in a while Minnesota just like bogs down in the red zone because they're going to score a lot of points at least. So I'm going to get a lot of extra points. But
extra points, yeah.
Yeah. And then I tried to get I had him on the team at one point, but then the reports were that Alfred Morris was going to start. Matt someone for the 49ers. I wanted him because he had a more consistent game, and then I tried to get another running back, Lindsey. I think it's either his first name or last name from Denver. He's beginning like 15 to 17 touches a week. Well, it's only been 2 weeks, but he's like leading the team in touches rushing wise.
Is he like a rookie or second year player? I think I remember.
He might be a rookie. I don't remember being on the team last year. They have 3 running backs. They drafted one, and there was one that was on the team last year, and I can't think of his name off the top of my head. But they are not, for some reason, they're just not panning out, I guess.
You know, they have like a whole committee thing. Like they've had that for a while. They don't really have like the one guy. I feel like.
Right. Yeah. So you're playing Alex, which coming into the season, like Alex unfortunately never plays very often, or he just stopped after like week 1. So he won week 1 pretty easily, I think. I can't remember who he played. And then week 2 he lost, I think. I'm pretty sure he lost last week. Yeah, because he lost to one of my coworkers.
Yep. The way. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, do you like any of your matchups in terms of like maybe these players are underperform?
Let me look at his last game. Yeah, I see he's actually doing pretty good. I mean, like you said, compared to years past.
Right.
Dion Lewis, has he been doing anything for Tennessee? I haven't paid attention to him at all.
Somehow he's like Chris Thompson, like last year or this year, more like because like he doesn't necessarily get a volume of, like running touches, but you know they get him 1-on-1 with a linebacker or a bunch of open space, and he technically fantasy wise does okay, but I don't know if he like super helping them win or stuff necessarily.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, his lineup looks pretty solid. Jacksonville is good defense, obviously. Jackson Doyle, I think he's had some good games for Indianapolis. I don't think he's really like kind of like Jesse James. He's like not that great of a tight end, but he can be good, but I don't think he's anything special. Philadelphia is good.
Right. I think what might help you, I mean, well, it could go both ways, but his defense could maybe shut down Dion Lewis a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, like the Jacksonville Jaguars, but if he fumbles or picks or something, it's just going to be more negative.
Yeah, just help them, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a great game at all. I don't know about Burkett. Neither of his running backs are really like great, I don't think. So that kind of helps if I had decent days from both of mine. That's a lot of points. Russell Wilson's like solid, but I don't know if he's going to score a lot.
Right.
I don't know. Jarvis Landry looks pretty good for Cleveland. Jets kind of stink in a way, so I don't know. Boswell's going to at least get PATs, even if our offense isn't playing great. If it's a shootout, they're going to score even more. So
Right.
I'm sure he's probably getting points from the kicker. He's got pretty solid lineup, I think.
Mm-hmm. I was surprised Jarvis Landry didn't really drop off. Like I thought, I mean, not that Ryan Tannehill was like this great quarterback, but he really balled out in Miami, like under the radar. Like he was just behind Odell Beckham in like a few categories, and I thought he'd kind of take a step back in Cleveland, but he hasn't.
Hey, it looks pretty good. I'm impressed.
I guess you. Okay, so
Gordon guy. Did he go to New England?
he just went to New England. He's on my team, but I don't think I'm playing him this week. I want to test it, see how it goes.
Yeah, if he can last on there, it's probably pretty good there.
Mm-hmm. So I asked a lot of people this last week. So after week 1 for the Steelers, I'm not sure. I mean, I guess Joe Hayden out, I don't think really should have hurt us that bad. I don't know. But do you see us having a losing season?
No, I don't. I mean, obviously, I'm not happy, but especially like watching TV and stuff, like my God, they're like up, like all the ESPN people are freaking out like in a negative way. Like, I mean, didn't they start 0-4 a couple years ago?
I can't remember. I think
We lost 4 in a row, like after the first 2 games. Yeah, like, I mean, it's not an ideal start, but I mean, God, it's not like all is lost. I mean, I don't think we're going to have a losing season. I really don't. No. I think for being predicted to be one of, if not the best team in the AFC, we're obviously this is a letdown.
right.
I don't think we're like, oh, we're so bad. I think that's overrated.
I kind of see what you're saying. I kind of, unfortunately, because I'm not really sure. So, like, week 1, I thought we just looked off timing-wise. And then week 2, I only got to watch the first half, and I was in the car for the second half. And I just feel like, I don't know, I'm nervous that there's something wrong on the defense. Like, there's too many big holes, and I don't understand why. It's not necessarily in the running game, but, like, there's, like, just receivers wide open all the time, and I can't really...
Yeah, it's just like we're playing in pockets, and it's just if you...
Right, I guess.
You're open, like, especially for freaking Kansas City. I mean, Mahomes looks really good, obviously, but I don't know. I mean, this game bothered me more than the Browns game, though Kansas City's a better team, because, like, we came back, and, like, I thought it was going to be all right.
Right.
It's just still bad again, so it's like, I don't know.
So, like, after the first half, I thought like, oh, okay, it's we'll do what we did like last year, like 3 or 4 times. We'll just come back.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, it's gonna be good. And then they kept scoring, but we weren't like matching it every time necessarily. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the defense needed a couple more stops. If they would have got 2 or 3 more stops, I think honestly we probably still would have won the game even if we didn't deserve to.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So what do you think the Mountaineers are gonna win by on Saturday?
Oh man, Kansas State's like a weird team because they're always decent.
Mm-hmm.
And they always get better as the year goes on, but during the season. But in every metric, they are terrible on offense. Like, I don't think they're going to score over 14 points or maybe 17. I think we're going to win by 21 points probably.
I wouldn't doubt it. I agree. I mean, I didn't. So, like, usually if there's a Big 12 team that's not like Texas, Oklahoma, maybe Oklahoma State in the past, if you hear about them, that means this is a bad expression, but like, if you hear about teams, sometimes you're like, okay, they could be decent, but like, I've heard nothing about Kansas State. Like, they never said anything about it. It wasn't like, oh, they have some hope or oh, they have this. And I just feel like this year maybe it'll be the year that we don't really stick around with them in terms of like we just kind of pull like a Tennessee and just beat them by 30.
I hope this game is because any conference game it all seems tougher unless it's Kansas. Like I think this is a game that should be over by halftime, and I don't think we'll have many of those going forward. But I think this game should be over less decisively.
I hope you're right.
So yeah, then if it's not, then that might say something about the rest of the year. But I think we should put them away early. I hope.
From the first 2 games, well, obviously not from the third, but because we didn't play a third. But from the first 2 games, I feel like it just seemed a little different. Like because like when Tennessee was technically still in the game at halftime, we came back out and we just put it away. Unfortunately, a lot of times in West Virginia history and sports-wise, it feels like we just let teams hang around. You know what I mean? So from the first 2 games, not even the second game, unfortunately, based off the competition. But I feel like we might be a little different this year with that.
I think like for the first time in a long time, in a really long time, we have like a mature team. It seems like they just kind of like they're more even keeled. They don't get really high and really low, which I think in tight games is going to be like really important. They just seem like they kind of just keep it steady, which is good.
No, I got you. So it's good talking to you, and we'll talk next week. Thanks, Mike.
Yep, sounds good. Yeah, that was cool, man. I listened to it on Monday morning. It was pretty cool.
All right, thank you. Tell your friends.
Yeah,
Well, thanks.
all right, man. No problem. I'll see you later.
Bye.
Hello?
Hey, what's up?
So much.
You got your first win last week. Who did you play? Or who was the team you played? It was Alex, right? Or you don't know who Alex is. It was the...
Me? I don't know. I think they both have the same name, so I don't know who it was.
Then it was Alex, because I remember looking at it. You played the guy that had Russell Wilson as quarterback. Yeah, I remember we talked about it on the Monday night game.
Yeah.
Oh, no, put LaShawn McCoy back in. You need to put Julian Edelman back in. You can play Tyrod tonight.
For me?
Yeah, I know, I'm just being sarcastic because you play me.
You just want to win.
I do just want to win.
You're terrible.
Hey, I mean, hustle by any means.
Basically, just do the exact opposite of what you're telling me to do.
So I think you should... Wait, no. You shouldn't play Carson Wentz then.
Okay, now I know that you're telling me exactly what to do.
So I know you didn't get to watch a lot of the Eagles game last week. How did Corey Clement do?
I think he did really good, but I didn't have him last week. I picked him up this week.
No, I got you, but I thought maybe... so I tried to pick up this Lindsey guy for the Denver Broncos because I needed another running back. Well, I didn't need, but I wanted another running back. My buddy Travis picked him up. And then I tried to pick... I'm not going to pronounce this guy's last name. Matt, the running back you got from the 49ers.
Yeah.
And obviously you claimed him over me. And then I'm starting Chris Thompson this week. He's technically not the starting running back, but I'm counting on that Green Bay kind of gets up and score, so they keep having to throw the ball. And if they keep having to throw the ball, they'll use him more because he's a smaller back and more of a receiving back.
Nice.
Did you have a Thursday night matchup last week? Or a Thursday night player?
I can't remember.
I don't think you do.
remember
I don't think you
who
have a Ravens. It was Ravens in Cincinnati.
No, I didn't. I think the guy that I went against had the other two. I don't know if he had AJ Green or he had someone on the Bengals, I think.
I got you. So what have they said about Wentz? Like, is he? I mean, obviously, I guess they. I find it weird how they were like Nick Foles is our guy and not your you know what I mean, but like he's okay, and then like, well, we don't want to rush Carson Wentz back. He'll be ready when he's ready, and then they lose one game. They're like, he's ready.
Yeah, I guess. I feel like it must be a really interesting dynamic on the team itself, just because you have the MVP of the Super Bowl as your quarterback
Mhm.
backup. But it seems like, they get along pretty well. I've seen a lot of interviews with Nick Foles, and he's just a really stand-up guy, like that, he understands that they signed Wentz for, like, the franchise deal, and, he'll go in when he's needed, and
Right.
I don't know, I feel like that must just be a really tough situation, but it seems like, they get along well. You always see, like, Wentz on the sidelines helping out, and Foles helping out on the sidelines, too. It must be a really interesting dynamic. I wish they would do, like, more about that.
I don't think, like, it was... I don't think it was ever an issue of, like, the person Nick Foles was. It was just the
Yeah.
level he was playing. And, like, to his defense, he doesn't really have a lot of weapons. I mean, week one, Alshon Jeffers was out. And then week two, I think Mike Wallace got hurt. And then I thought you guys lost another receiver, maybe. I could be wrong. But you guys picked up Jordan Matthews, which I think could be work out, but I don't know how healthy he is. I mean, I'm assuming he's fine if they wouldn't have signed him, but because I remember he didn't make the Patriots team, which I thought was crazy because he's a really good receiver. But I guess he had like a hamstring issue.
Battling like a hamstring injury or something.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, bringing him back into the offense that he knows is probably a good move for the. I feel like that maybe the offense for Eagles versus Patriots is very different too.
Correct.
I feel like they're very different quarterbacks, very different styles of playing.
Oh, I think unfortunately your player Juju Smith-Schuster, I think he'll have another big week.
Yeah, he's been doing pretty well.
He's been really well for you.
Bell being at, like, I don't know, whatever he's doing, not wanting to play, I guess.
Yeah, I don't.
Not wanting to sign a contract.
Right. Yeah.
And then Antonio Brown, I feel like he's been doing well, but I feel like Juju Smith-Schuster's kind of been stepping up to kind of fill that void, which has worked out for me.
Right. I think a lot of teams, it felt like last year Antonio Brown was always open, kind of, which maybe he was. I feel like this year maybe teams are covering him different because, like, Juju, he's also, a very good wide receiver. You proved it last year and he's proven it this year, but, like, sometimes he's just wide open. Like, there's, like, it's not even reasonable. No one's covering him. It's like, why are they running this coverage and stuff? So, like, because the first game he had, like, I don't think he had a lot of receptions necessarily, but he had over 100 yards. And then the second game, he had a touchdown and over 100 yards and like 10 catches, I think. But I could be wrong. So I think I don't know. Most likely he'll do something similar, if not the same thing as last week.
I'm hoping.
I'm not. I'm hoping he doesn't. I'm hoping he decides to just, I don't know. He can.
Sit this one out.
Yeah, sit this one out. Maybe they need to double team him and just throw to Antonio Brown all day.
Because, you want the Steelers to obviously still win.
Correct, yeah. This is awful. So with fantasy, obviously you could, play a team you're playing against and you want the player to do well, whatever. But like when the Chiefs were in the red zone in the first half, when like they were blowing us out, I was like, just throw it to, 87. Throw it to 87 because that was Travis Kelce. He had a monster game. He had like over 100 yards and like 2 touchdowns. Yeah. So they did that. But I wish we would have won. Something's different about this team. I'm not really sure why, because we didn't really lose any parts on defense, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And our offense is, besides week 1 versus the Browns when we only scored 21 and we had Ben had like 5 turnovers, like 3 picks and 2 fumbles. Our defense just doesn't seem as reliable, but I'm not really sure why.
Yeah, I'm still getting the kinks out.
I hope so. There's a lot of kinks to get out. So, yeah. So do you feel the Eagles will not easily, but do you feel like it'll be a pretty easy game for the Eagles against Indianapolis?
I haven't seen any. I don't think I've seen any games where I've watched Indianapolis play. I'm not sure really. I mean, I know Andrew Luck. That's about all I know about the Colts right now.
Right.
I feel like they haven't been doing that great, but I mean, it'll be interesting to see Wentz back in the game. Like I'm sure he'll still be playing with, the style that he has, but I'm not sure that he's going to be super aggressive either, being his first game back. I don't know. And then Jay Ajayi might be out as well.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
But I'm not sure.
They should rest him.
Which is
Rest him
why-
up. Save him for the
And
playoffs.
that's one of
Save him for the playoffs.
But that's one of the reasons why I picked up Corey Clement, because he got a decent amount of touches and did really well last week, and Ajayi only played maybe half the game, a little more than half the game, because he went out with a back injury.
Right.
But they might sit him out. I guess I think it's leaning towards sitting him out. So Sproles is out, which I actually wound up trading Sproles for Clement. I feel like Sproles is not really putting up the numbers. They still being his last season, and he's been on the team for so long. I feel like they want to give him the ball more, but I'm not sure that he's really putting up the numbers. And I just really like Darren Sproles anyway, but
Right.
I traded him.
I
which
watched.
felt sad about.
I didn't watch the game week 2 versus Tampa Bay, but I watched week 1. And the weird thing about fantasy football, you don't, unless he would score on the punt return, that's the only way you get points. You know what I mean?
Right, and he's an awesome punt returner, but to get a touchdown off a punt return, it's probably not going to happen. But
Right, very often at least.
definitely the main person that gets the punt return. So yeah, I traded for Clement because I figured with Ajayi potentially being injured and Sproles still being out, he's probably going to be their go-to running back. And Wentz coming back from an injury, they might want to run the ball a little bit more than let him stay in the pocket and get the potential of getting sacked or him running the ball as much as he normally does. So
Right.
I don't know. I kind of took a little bit of a gamble, but who knows? Yeah, I don't know.
I feel like your matchups versus defense, I'm not really sure how good Kansas City is because they did give up a lot of points, but they might play a little better next week. But all your matchups defensively, I feel like you have the upper hand in terms of player, like player versus that defense or your defense versus that team.
Okay. I don't know that much about it, I guess. I've got a lot more to learn, I guess, throughout this season.
Yeah, I think you get the concept, so that's all that matters. But I think you should rest your players. Just rest them.
All of them.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'll just put one player out there. Can I do that? I'll put them all over there.
Yeah, just make that one team carry.
I'll just put Wentz out there.
That sounds good. Sounds perfect. My luck, I'd start my whole team somehow.
All the players that I don't put out there that are just going to sit on the bench, you can have the starting one. So you could play your whole team, and I'll just play one player.
All right,
And
sounds
you'll be
good.
happy.
So it was great talking again. I'll call you next week, and thanks.
All right.
Sounds good. I hope you lose this week, though.
Oh, I hope you do too.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
All right, bye.
Hello.
Hey, what's up?
Not much. What's up?
I don't know too much. So last week we played. I think one of your players got. No. Yeah, Devontae Adams got hurt in the middle of the game, right? Or was it a game time decision? Or what's his name?
You mean Freeman? or
Devontae Freeman. Sorry, I apologize.
They said on I think Saturday or Friday he wasn't gonna play. Yeah.
Okay, I remember that now. Because then you
I'm
played.
not sure what his status is though. But I haven't had a chance to look.
Right. I think Joe Mixon got hurt in the game last week. But he still got 8 points, but he did. So I think your player of Giovanni Bernard, I think that should be your flex should be pretty good this week in terms of he'll get all the touches.
Yeah, I gotta put some people. I think I'm gonna play Jesse James because he's been having some good weeks. So
Mm-hmm.
played him last week probably. What's his name from Green Bay? Hasn't done much for me yet. Jimmy Graham,
Right.
unfortunately. So
I always like the option of playing a quarterback with a receiver. You know what I mean?
yeah, me too. And Austin had a good week last week, so maybe I should start him as well.
Tavon.
Right. Well, maybe is Alshon Jeffries supposed? Yeah, Alshon Jeffries, is he supposed to come back?
I honestly haven't had a chance to look yet. I'm not sure.
He's only questionable, so maybe he does. You play one of my bosses this week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure who they have. I haven't looked at it yet.
So I think he won the first week versus Drew. He lost last week to someone I can't remember who. But he has Tom Brady, Julio Jones, Mike Evans. Unfortunately, has James Conner. I tried to get James
Well,
I don't know how that'll, but maybe James Conner won't get any. Well, he technically had a touchdown last week,
yeah.
but he only had less than 10 attempts on rushing, plays.
Yeah, they hardly ran the ball at all. They might be passing one up this week too if we get behind again. He's Fitzmagic. And then,
I don't know. Did you try to pick up anyone in waivers?
no, I'm gonna see who I can pick up there the next day or two.
Makes sense.
I'm not even sure who's out there.
No, I guess I tried to pick up 2 running backs. Travis got the one, and
Who's that?
Lindsey from Denver,
Oh, okay.
and then the physical therapist that I work with, the girl, she picked up Matt. I can't pronounce his last name for the 49ers. They're starting running back,
Okay.
and so I was trying to get another
He's a
running.
leading rusher or something.
He is, but it's not by much because they didn't do anything week 1. And then the next week he kind of had a bigger game. I think he had over 13 points. I think he had actually a real big game. I can't remember the score though. Maybe he had 19 because he had 130 yards and a touchdown. But I can't. So that would have been 19 points. But I'm not really sure.
Who the Ravens play?
The Ravens play Denver.
Denver. Well, the defense should do all right against them. I would hope.
Right. I have Emmanuel Sanders, and I'm kind of I don't know who I'd put in my flex though because I thought about playing 2 tight ends, but I don't really want to do that because the first week Emmanuel Sanders blew up. He had 19 points or something, and I didn't play him. And then last week he had 90 yards, so he got me 9 points, which is good. But I'm hoping the Ravens defense is more like the week 2 versus Cincinnati in terms of not for you obviously, but gives up some yards to Emmanuel Sanders.
Oh, yeah. I don't even know who's their quarterback now.
Case Keenum, but he didn't play one week. I don't know if he played whatever week. He didn't play one day. I don't know if he has to just play tomorrow and then okay, we can start you or something like that. So maybe you'll look out there and get a lot of points if they have to start their backup.
I got you. Well, maybe. Who else? Is Vance McDonald? Vance McDonald played last week, didn't he?
He did, but he was so the first half of the game I got to watch. We were at someone's house, so I got to watch the first half of that. And then the second half, I just barely listened to in the car because we were in Ohio and I couldn't. The service wasn't, in terms of that FM station, wasn't the best. So I didn't get to really watch the second half. But in the first half, Vance McDonald didn't do anything in terms of contributing.
I feel like he maybe had 1 or 2 catches. I can't remember.
Right. So I asked Mike this. I didn't ask the girl before. Do you think I really feel like there's something different about this team in a negative way. The defense just seems like there's too many wide open holes. I mean, I guess that maybe happened in years past, but it just seems different this year. It seems too easy. Does that make sense? For other teams?
I don't have any faith in the defense this year. I don't know what to think. It might be a long year.
I hope it's not too long, but we'd have to almost do a complete reversal of what we're doing now because I guess we could win our division if Cincinnati pulls the Bengals thing and just kind of putters out. I honestly feel so I was excited for the Sunday night game prior to the starting. It's 2 weeks from now, so it's obviously not the Monday night game, but we play Baltimore at home.
Yeah.
And I was excited for that, but now I'm just obviously if I could change my whole tune if we somehow dominate Tampa Bay somehow, which we should, but maybe not. But I just feel like it's just gonna be a frustrating year.
Fitzpatrick, you can't keep this up forever.
Right? Yeah, I was talking to someone at work. I think I said this last week. I feel like we already know what he is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's been in the league 14 years now. He's had 100 starts. So,
he's just an above average quarterback. So
Yeah.
Yes, he can have a few very, very good games, but I don't think this is going to be a MVP season.
Didn't Deshaun Jackson say he wants him to be the starter or something?
I think so. I mean, he's made Deshaun Jackson like a dominant deep threat again.
Yeah.
How do you feel the Mountaineers will play this week?
Well, they've had 2 weeks off, so they should be well rested.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, they should beat the crap out of Kansas State. I think they'll start slow because they seem to do that a lot. It might be close at halftime, but they should win by, I'd say, at least 20.
Right. Your brother actually said the same exact score, which is kind of funny. I feel like this year's team, but I mean, well, I know we only played 2 games, and the second game wasn't really like a very competitive opponent. But I feel like in the Tennessee game, West Virginia teams in the past would like let Tennessee like hang around and maybe win, but we beat them by like I think it was 40-14. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So I mean, I think that's big. I think that shows a little bit. Hopefully, it shows something.
I mean,
that maybe
this is
like-
going to be the year to make a run at the Big 12 championship. This is the year we got to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I think they should start 8 or 9-0 pretty easily. And
Right.
Back into their schedules. What TCU, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma.
I wish I knew that
See, I
number.
think
Hmm?
TCU. Somebody maybe Oklahoma State plays TCU this week. I'm not sure. Or somebody. I forget who. But yeah, it'll work itself out. We'll see who's who.
Right.
Oklahoma State beat Boise. It was close most of the game, but then they kind of got away from them at the end.
Right.
And then, I don't know. We'll see. TCU looked pretty good against Ohio State too. So
I agree. I mean,
we'll see.
yeah, I watched a little bit of the Ohio State TCU game. Like we were at her parents' house, so like I didn't get to watch much of it. So I didn't watch any games until like late night, and I thought I was like, oh, TCU looks pretty legit. I'm like, versus Ohio State's been look very extremely dominant, their normal selves. And then it kind of just, I think there was like a turnover, maybe like a pick 6 or something, or maybe there was just a plain turnover,
Yeah, I think so.
and they just kind of they didn't really catch it. Well, they kind of did because I think it was within 4 or something at one point, but I think it was like they scored again after the pick 6 or something, or kind of matched one of Ohio State's scores after that, and then Ohio State kind of like got away, went up by like 10 or something, let's say, and then like TCU got within like 4, I think, but then it wasn't really close. I think they went for it on 4th down or something. It wasn't complete.
I mean, up through like the third quarter, it was a pretty good game, and that kind of got away, I think.
Right, yeah. Do you think the missed game will hurt Will Greer's Heisman chances? Well, I guess it depends, obviously.
Unfortunately, yeah, but at least it's early, so
Right.
hopefully not too much.
I'm hoping. I thought about this on the way on the drive up here. Like for somehow he has like the same numbers as everyone else, but a less game, so it looks even more
That would look
impressive.
pretty good.
Yeah. But we just gotta wait and see, I guess, because he'd have to have like a 600-yard game or something. Yeah.
Yeah, it should be. Hopefully, he keeps it up. And just keeps his name in the race.
No, I got
all
you.
year.
So, how many more losses before I can, steal Aaron Rodgers and Antonio Brown from you?
It'd take quite a few.
I think I don't know. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But did LeGarrette Blunt? Did he play okay last week?
I
don't
think
think
he got
he-
me like 6 points or something.
I guess yeah.
So, and for week before, I don't think he had any points. So, I mean,
He had negative actually. I remember that.
yeah. And
Yeah.
I was just kind of in a bind. And I had to play somebody, so I played him, and it worked out. Okay. I mean, if I had started Tavon and Jesse, I could have been close to you, but you pretty much blew me out.
I think I can't remember why, because I think I tried to look at it like that way. Like if you would have played this player or that player, it would have been, I guess, closer. But I mean, I think usually most weeks in like you'll probably never score that low again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, hopefully not.
It's kind of a fluke matchup. But you should be my boss. You should do that. That would be nice. So I can talk about it on Monday.
Be 2-1. That'd be good.
There we go. Everyone. So Giles is 2-0. Your brother is 0-2, and everyone else is 1-1.
So you're saying there's a chance?
There is a chance. Yeah. It was great talking to you, and thanks. And we'll do it the same time next week.
All right. Take care.
And bye.
Bye.
Hello?
Hey, what's up?
Hey, what's going on?
Oh, not too much. So you're the only team in the league undefeated.
Yes.
I think. Wait, did you played me week 1, beat me? Who'd you play week 2, or who? You might not know.
I played Jason week 2.
Okay, so that's my boss. So you played my boss week 2.
Okay.
Yeah. Did Kamara probably did amazing again, right?
You know what? Looking at my team, everyone struggled, it seemed, but I don't know how. Like, of everyone, Philip Rivers was my go-to guy this week.
I think. I mean, I hope. I wish. I mean, there's no quarterbacks besides, about Brady that you'd really want. But I mean, Philip Rivers played the Buffalo Bills last week, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I'm sure he tore that up.
Yeah, I mean, with 23 to 27 for 256, 3 touchdowns.
Right. Yeah. My. Did you play Fournette last week, or he was? No, he was still out last week, correct?
I did not play Fournette. He was
his
a
hamstring or
no-go.
something. Yeah, I thought so. Do you know if he's supposed to play this week?
I'm not risking it.
Right. No, I see what you're saying. Oh, you play DJ.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I see his team, and it's just,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to have to pull out a miracle.
I mean, I don't think. I mean, once again, you're the only undefeated team. But I mean, not that it's like everyone's 1-1 and one team's
Yeah.
0-2. But I mean, I guess where you probably, I mean, you definitely have him in running backs. Maybe if you don't count Zeke, I don't think Jamal Williams that's kind of like a hit and miss because I don't think they've determined who's the starting running back there. Kind of that. But I think because like T.Y. Hilton is still like, I'm still like what I'm trying to say is like Andrew Luck. I don't know how consistent he'll be yet. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah,
And
absolutely.
then with the Raiders with Amari Cooper, I think you had Amari Cooper last year. I'm pretty sure.
And he's got Gronk, he's got Breeze,
Right?
he's
Yeah.
got the Vikings defense against Buffalo, so they should
Oh, they'll stomp them. Yeah.
they should stomp him. I mean, he's got from the preview, he's got check marks all across the board. It's going to be hit and miss.
Right. No, I got you. Let me see. So all your games will be done at 4 or 7 at the most, and he has 1 Sunday night game, 2 Sunday night games because he has Detroit twice and New England. But you go through a week and you have like the Sunday night game or whatever, or the Sunday games, and then you have like 1 Sunday night player and then 1 Monday night player. I always feel like that gives me a better chance, but it doesn't really mean anything because you could still get blown
definitely.
out. But
Especially know what your guy's going to have to do.
Right. I like that better.
night.
Did you get to watch? So I was in Ohio last week, and the 2 games that were on the Fox game was the Browns and the Saints. Was the Packers and Minnesota game on in PA on Fox?
No, they had
Was it the Browns and the Saints?
the thing is with Pittsburgh is whatever the Steeler game on, they only show the Steeler game.
Okay, I got you.
So I saw Pittsburgh and Kansas City, which was really good. That was a shootout.
I think I was talking to someone about this, or maybe I just made this up in my head real quick. But like, if I wasn't such a big Steeler fan, I could see where someone could say what you just said. Like to me, it was just so disappointing, if you know what I mean. Because like last year, I mean, I know your Packers had a backup quarterback in, and then we did versus Cincinnati, the Packers. I think one time versus Baltimore, we get like blown out and then just come back. And the first half of the Chiefs game, we got blown out, and then we came back and tied it up, or at least we're only down by 2. And I was like, okay, we're doing the same stuff that we did last year, no big deal. The Chiefs' offense just said, we're just going to pretty much do whatever we want.
Well, Patrick Mahomes is playing like he's been a veteran for 10 years in the league.
I know he just seems so confident. You know what I mean?
I think it's Andy Reid. I think Andy Reid can make a quarterback.
No, I agree with you. I
mean, you have to look at what Alex Smith. Look what his career started out in San Francisco.
Right.
And he went to Kansas City. Look what he ended up doing.
This might be a bad example since you're a Packers fan, but I remember when before Brett Favre was Brett Favre, he was on Atlanta, and I can't think of the guy's name that drafted him or he was on the team with. He would always just like kind of like borderline tease him like, hey, just number 4, whatever number he was when he was with Atlanta, just throw a ball into the second deck because you can. But like with Patrick Mahomes, he has a huge arm, similar to like how Brett Favre was. So I think that's why maybe it's easier for Andy Reid to be like, okay, I can do this because I've done it before, type thing.
And you gotta look at it too. Reid also was also the quarterback's coach over there
In Green Bay. Yeah. That was kind of my point, but like I didn't know if it was fair to call Patrick Mahomes Brett Favre.
I mean, I wouldn't go that far yet. Well,
No, I know what you mean, but I think
a long ways to go to prove that.
No, I think you got the reference. How's your bench performing?
Bench this week wasn't that bad. I mean, it got me 25 points. I did pick up
Austin,
the
I can't.
Chargers the backup
Running back, yeah, I saw that. You picked
And
him
that's
up.
the thing.
Hmm?
And that's the thing too. I mean, a lot of people are like all up on these starters, but you got to take a look at these backups.
Right. Because I definitely agree with that. Because a lot of times you'll know. So I dropped him based off. So right now the Bears are my defense based off the matchup versus Arizona, but they have an early bye. So I tried to find a team that was playing Buffalo next week, and I lucked out. And the Packers are playing Buffalo, not in 2 weeks. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'll pick them up, and I dropped Ty. But the reason I drafted Ty Montgomery is I thought he would beat out Jamal Williams for the starting position, but he hasn't. I know it's extremely early, but I was like, I'm just going to do this real quick because it hasn't panned out so far. But that's to your point. I do think getting backups once in a while is a big thing because I know it's early for Fournette, but he was hurt a lot last year. So maybe he has like an injury-prone type thing, so getting his backup is a big thing for maybe a steal on a win once in a while.
For anyone in the league who ever has a backup running back,
Right.
I mean, the backups are performing pretty good so far this year for a lot of teams.
Mm-hmm. I have, I think P. Ride, I can't pronounce his first name off the top of my head for Washington, and then they had another running back. Geis got hurt towards MCL or something. So I have AP and Chris Thompson.
Yeah.
But Chris Thompson got like 10 points last week because they were behind, so they had to throw a lot. And they're playing the Packers, so I'm hoping for the same result. So I started him over AP, even though AP is projected to get more points, but it's only by like 2. So that's the weird thing about fantasy is like garbage time. You almost want your offensive players to go down by like 30 or not 30, but like 14 or 20 real quick, so they have to throw or have to do whatever.
That's why people who probably have like Juju Smith or Ben, like with the Pittsburgh game, whoever had like Ben and Juju Smith and Antonio Brown. I mean, once after that second quarter hit, they were flinging the ball the rest of the game.
Yeah, my buddy Travis, I don't know if you met him. He actually played Mike last week. He had like 130 points, but he had Ben. And the funny thing, even though like Patrick Mahomes played so well, and he did, nothing wrong, he had like 38 points. But since Ben didn't have a turnover and threw like 60, he literally threw over 60 times, and then he rushed for a touchdown. He had one more point than Patrick Mahomes fantasy-wise, but I know it didn't determine the outcome of the game. But that's what I'm trying to say about like you want an offensive player that's behind because they're going to keep throwing most likely. The Packers play Washington. Do you have any worry about that game?
I hope not. I mean, I think they should easily get a W.
Right. After week 1, I thought the Redskins could maybe be something okay, but then I think they got handled by the Colts, so I don't see them doing much better versus the Packers. Because the Packers' defense is semi-overrated. I mean, underrated.
I think they should have won the game against Minnesota.
No, I agree. I didn't watch the game, but supposedly it was one of those driving the quarterbacks into the ground. I've seen the play, but I didn't think it was that outrageous. But I guess that call gave Minnesota like a first down, and then that's the drive they let down. They kicked the field goal, but then they missed it.
Yeah, and that poor kicker from Minnesota, he was out of job after that game.
Right, yeah. I picked up Dan Bailey. They play Buffalo, so I'm hoping once in a while they bog down in the red zone.
Which that's going to be a major improvement for them.
Mm-hmm.
That just makes them stronger now.
I'm not sure why. I don't know if he just didn't get along with anyone, but he was so good for Dallas.
It was more with him. It was money.
Money?
They just didn't want to pay him that kind of money he was looking for.
No, I got you. Because he'll perform big time in the Dome with Minnesota.
And he's kicking indoors too, so that's a plus.
Right. Who's your college team? We talked about this last week. No, we didn't.
West Virginia is my college team.
West Virginia's college team? Okay, good then. I thought for some reason, just based off that you like the Packers and everyone else likes the Steelers most likely once in a while, I didn't know if you liked a different college team.
No, it's West Virginia for me.
No, I got you. Do you think it should be I feel from what I've talked to you about the few other people, do you feel it'll be close game on Saturday?
Ooh, it could be. Kansas State's one of them teams always plays them tough.
I agree. I was talking to Mike. Mike is one of the people I call first, and like I guess in terms of like numbers wise, Kansas State's offense is like literally awful. Like they're like the worst rank wise. So I'm hoping that kind of helps us out because our defense I think is improved this year up front and well just up front at least.
Be interesting to see what they did with an extra week off
Yeah, I got you.
in prepping for this game.
Yeah. Hopefully it's good.
You would think they would come out on all cylinders and start flinging the ball.
No, I got you. All right, but it was great talking to you, and same time next week, and hopefully, oh, maybe you and DJ can, heavyweight fight type thing.
I hope because and the funny thing is, I think last year I was undefeated before me and him played, and he beat me pretty good. So hopefully I get the revenge on him.
Yeah, sounds good. But thanks for calling.
Yep, no problem.
Sounds good. Bye.
Hello?
Hey, what's up?
Not much. What's going on?
Oh, not too much. So last week your first loss, even though we only played 2 games?
Yeah, last week was my first loss there. We, I don't know what exactly happened, but yeah, I just couldn't get it together, I guess. Some of the players didn't, get whatever I thought I was going to get out of them, so.
Right. I thought so. Last week it was the Bengals versus the Ravens, and AJ Green went off, got you 24 points or something. So I was like,
Yeah.
oh, it's going to be an easy win for Alex again. He's going to go 2-0. But then, was it Russell Wilson kind of what put you in the hole, or didn't help you get out of the hole, or was it more someone else?
Well, I think that was the main thing. I think Russell was kind of the main person for me. I mean, last week he did really, really good. I can't remember how many points he had, but he did very well. And then kind of, he still did good, but he didn't do as well as what he did the week before. So, anyways, that girl has a pretty good team. She was very good.
She is.
And
I told her, I call her 2 or 3 people before you, and I was like, you should bench all these players. And she's like, so I should do the opposite of what you say. So then I was like, oh, you should start all these players. And then she's like, okay, I'll just listen to you now. I was like, how's
well, she's winning, so whatever she's doing is working.
Right, yeah. How's Dion Lewis been doing for you?
Not as week 2, he only had 4 points. I mean, he wasn't very good. I mean, the week prior he did a lot better.
No, I got you.
He gave me 8.7 points. But I don't know. He didn't do too well there last week.
I got you.
This week, I think. Is that Chase or is it?
That's Mike. Mike. You got Mike.
Oh, that's Mike. Okay.
Yeah.
He's got a pretty good team. It looks like too.
Well, he's the only team that's hasn't won.
Is that right?
Yeah. So
All right.
everyone's 1-1, pretty much everyone. Giles is 2-0 and Mike's 0-2, but everyone else is 1-1 at this point.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hey, I mean, you don't know. Right now, I'm projected to win, but it's kind of tight between us.
The projections are weird. They're frustrating at times because sometimes you can have a very good lineup and they'll be like, oh, projection-wise, you're going to do great, but then all the players underperform.
Yeah, that's true. So, what do you think about Le'Veon Bell?
So I got 2 questions. Are you saying you want to trade him, or are you saying as an actual player for the Steelers?
I mean, I'd trade him. He's not doing me any good right now.
I know he's your first pick overall. He's getting you 0 points 2 weeks.
I know. Yeah, we might have to do something about that, but
I got you. So the Cleveland Browns game, there was a report, and I never read it or really cared to see what day it was, but supposedly he went to a club or something. I felt like, well, it's probably, overblown, maybe it wasn't during the game or, Sunday or Saturday night or something. Maybe it was just on a Tuesday or something and didn't get reported till the day after the game, you know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
And then he did the whole, I can't think of what it's called, but the little emoji of the guy looking at something, investigating type thing.
I saw that, yeah.
And then I was like, okay, that's a little annoying. And then this bothered me, but I guess it might be similar to Ben because he was technically under. the thing that he like went jet skiing, and like
Yeah,
if he got hurt or something, it's like what the hell. But
that's
I'm
crazy.
trying to keep optimistic, but I don't. Maybe there's some like player bond that I'm unaware of, but I feel like if he comes back, like people won't want to. I don't know. Maybe it'll go away once we start winning or something. But I feel like people won't want him to be part of the locker room. But I could be wrong.
Yeah, I mean that might be true. I don't know. I mean, it's Antonio Brown and all this mess. I mean, it just seems I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
They're in complete disarray right now. You know, they're just
I'm confused why the defense is so different in terms of like they can't. They look like they're doing what they're told, but it like doesn't make any. I don't know. You know what I mean?
yeah. I don't know either.
Did you watch all the game last week?
I watched most of it. Yeah.
I didn't get to watch the second half. We were in a car in Ohio, like the Columbus area, but Pat Mahomes just like tore us up.
Oh yeah. I mean, he was bad. I mean, he's good. Well, I mean, I think he's gonna be good, but yeah, we made him look like a
World
Yeah.
beater,
Yeah.
Hall of
world
Famer.
beater, exactly.
Put him in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm hoping that something changes this week in terms of like we look like we know what we're doing or we dominate Tampa Bay. But if we don't, if we go, 0-2-1, I don't know.
Yeah, things would definitely look pretty rough then.
I got
Yeah.
you. So tell me about the Mountaineers on Saturday. How they going to do?
Well, I mean, hey, I'm pretty excited about them. I think they're gonna be all right.
Mm-hmm.
K-State. I mean, this will be a bigger test than what I think they're a little bit better than Tennessee, honestly, and I think they're obviously better than Youngstown State. So I mean, this will be a good test for them. But I mean, K-State is not. They're not very good either. I mean, they're not a top 25 team or anywhere close to it. So I mean, I think it'll be an easy W. I think the line was at like 16 or something
Mm-hmm.
last time I looked, which is pretty crazy. Like, I mean, everyone's picking us, so I mean, I think it'll be another easy game for them.
I got you. I was talking to Mike, or Mike was telling me that he saw that like Kansas State's offense is literally like ranked one of the worst in the country. So
Yeah,
I'm pretty
I mean,
excited about that based off that I think our defense has improved and our offense has gotten better, even though, I feel like they're pretty solid. I feel like we're solid on both offense and defense. So I feel like I'm hoping it's not close, but even if it does get close, I feel like we have the team to put it away.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I think it'll be a blowout. You're just gonna roll them.
I got you. Did you try to pick up any players on the waiver wire this week?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
I'll have to look at that.
No, I got you. All the good ones are taken pretty much, or that I would take a chance on. There's one player for a team, I'm not going to say that I'd like to pick up, maybe, but I'm going to give him another week, see if he performs or not.
Yeah, I might. I'll have to check it out because I think at the running back position I'm not getting what I should. So I'll have to check it out.
Well, I mean, it's not really your fault. So, like, in terms of me, I don't know, like, obviously we don't know at the time, like, what players were available when you took your next group of running backs. Because, I mean, hell, you had Le'Veon Bell.
I know.
You had the first round pick that was easy. It's like, take Bell. He's going to be there, after the last preseason game. No problem. Take Bell.
Yeah.
And then he hasn't been there. And because, like, your wide receivers are really good, Michael Thomas and A.J. Green. And you took two quarterbacks back-to-back, which I thought was funny. But they're both playing solid this year. I guess maybe Russell wasn't, but I
I
think
don't know whether I should play Andrew or play Russell.
so. I didn't get to watch the Sunday night game, so I don't know how good Dallas's defense is. And Philly did lose to Tampa Bay, but I feel like Philly's defense is better than the Cowboys, so I feel like playing Russell is a better option points-wise.
Yeah, you're probably right.
But, I mean, it's
I like him too, though. I like him too. I mean,
he's kind of a West Virginia boy. Not really, but kind of.
a little bit.
A little bit.
He's
his-
part of the Love family?
I forgot about this. Isn't his dad the commissioner of, I'm pretty sure he's the commissioner of the XFL.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, well, yeah, that's what it is. XFL. Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty crazy.
That's not for like 2 years, correct?
Yeah, I think so. A couple years down the road.
I don't
That'd be-
remember
that'd be pretty wild.
Do you remember the old XFL?
No, I don't remember it really at all.
I feel like watching as an adult, it'd be like, what am I watching?
Yeah,
But I don't know. I'm kind of,
I'm DJ too.
yeah, I'm kind of interested to see how it goes. I hope it's good football, but I don't see it being that.
What if it becomes bigger than the NFL?
It's not becoming bigger than the NFL. It might become bigger than the CFL or this other. There's another American Football League or something they're starting,
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah.
and it starts like it either starts just a year from now or like in the spring or something.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is, but I've heard of it.
It's before the XFL. That's all I know, which I thought was weird because the XFL got all this hype real quick. All the XFL is coming back, and then this other league, I think it's like American football. I don't know what it is, and they're like, oh, we're coming out in like 6 months or a year rather than 2 years or something. Like take away some of the hype.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
It should be cool. I wish. I'm sure it'd be awful and people would hate it or players would hate it, but I wish like the Steelers could have like a minor league team and you could call up players.
Yeah, it might be.
That'd be cool, I
It
think.
might be, you might be onto something, I guess. There, that's kind of interesting.
Like they could play on Tuesdays and Tuesdays and Wednesdays or something, and then
Yeah.
like if they perform, they'll get called up, and then they would
Yeah,
be rested for a week.
That'd be pretty cool.
But that'll never
Yeah.
happen. So it was good talking to you, and thanks for calling. And let's go Mountaineers, and I'll talk to you next week.
All right, man. We'll see you.
Sounds good. Bye.
Bye bye.
Hello.
Hey, Ben.
Hey, what's up?
All right.
So last week you won, correct? You won big time last week, correct?
Yeah, I won like 15 points, I think, something to that effect.
I guess
I
you.
pull it back up right now so I can talk about it. 25 points won by.
Which still is a lot.
Thanks in large part to Pat Mahomes.
I mean, that was big. I remember when you took him in the draft, I'm like, that was a pretty solid pick because, like, I mean, obviously he was, not at the time. I can't remember who your starter was necessarily, but I mean, you drafted him to be a backup. You're like, oh, maybe use him if he gets
Yeah.
hot or something.
I got him in like the 13th round, yeah.
Yeah, something like real late. And then he's like blown up the first 2 games.
Yeah, I'm pretty pleased with him there.
Mm-hmm.
I got Stafford was going to be my starter. I don't know if I dropped him or not.
I think you did. You picked up the Browns defense. Well, no, you picked up Galladay.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. I picked him up, which I think he might be pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what goes on here. But yeah, I decided I'd go ahead and ride the train here with Pat Mahomes for now and see what happens. There's some other quarterbacks still available if I need to make a switch down the road here, but I was surprised no one picked up Fitzpatrick. But,
Oh, this is random. Is Kyle Rudolph hurt?
what's that, on Tampa Bay, you mean, or
No, Kyle Rudolph for Minnesota.
Minnesota? Oh, I don't know. I think he might be. Didn't they have there was some sort of penalty was called? Somebody landed on him.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. Maybe.
That I don't know, but I was talking about Fitzpatrick. No one picking him up, which is weird. But yeah, I don't really know about.
See, I thought about picking up Fitzpatrick, like, to be dead honest. Like, oh, I'll just get 1 week of a lot of points. But, like, I was talking to Chase, and I think I talked to Giles about this. But I feel like we kind of already know what Fitzpatrick is. I feel like this is more of a fluke. And I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't think it's.
so you watch.
I don't think it's gonna last.
Yeah, so you got to watch all the second half of the Steeler game. Like, what defensively, like offensively, obviously we have this huge, not huge, but like we're all over the place in terms of who needs the ball, who wants the ball, who's not there, who isn't, who is there.
It's pretty much a disaster.
But in terms of defense, like we pretty much everyone back, and not that we had like this, outstanding defense last year, but they were solid at times, and I just don't.
Yeah.
Pat Mahomes just
Yeah.
destroyed us.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what it is. Probably a combination of factors. I don't know. Apparently, Ryan Shazier was pretty involved in communication as far as setting everybody up and communicating the play in. I mean, that's one way to interpret it. When he's not there, there's really no leader on the defense who can effectively communicate. Because who you got to have? I don't know who does it now, who's got the mic, but I can't imagine
Cam Hayward's probably the next best person, but
Right, but I
just
can't see them
he's
give
a
it to a
lineman.
defensive lineman. You're going to have to stay down, look forward. You can't like stand up and turn around and talk to
Yeah.
everyone.
So I really don't know who wears the helmet on that end, but yeah, that's a big problem for him. And then
I think it's
you
Vince
just have
Williams,
a lot of-
actually.
what's
But I
that?
could be wrong. Vince Williams. Because I don't think Bostic does.
But yeah, that's one factor. Maybe they're not communicating the plan well. The other factor, well, there's two other factors maybe I'll mention. The other thing is you just don't have the development of these guys who have been drafted at corner. Artie Burns is nowhere to be seen, basically. I mean, it's a real shame. And then the other thing, I've been hearing and reading that Mike Tomlin actually calls a significant portion of the defensive plays not Keith Butler. So I don't know how
Oh.
true that is. But,
Well, evidently that's not. I didn't know that. I always
I don't
assumed that Keith Butler called all the plays, but I've never. Oh,
Yeah,
wow. I
we
did
don't
not
want
know
to
that.
do
That's
that.
pretty interesting.
Yeah, he wrote there was Ed Bouchette, I think is the one that came up with that. I have to double check that. But I was reading that article about it in the Pittsburgh papers. And,
Mm-hmm.
Tomlin calls a significant portion of his defenses, so he's either got to let Butler do it or he's got to take over one or the other.
Right. I mean,
So
obviously,
think there's a lot of things going on.
right. I was talking to
When
Alex.
your offense starts slow, you're really in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
I mean, so like the first week, I guess the first week was turnovers, and I think Cleveland is better than what they are. But Ben had 5 turnovers, I think, and then like Connor, yeah, excuse me. And so week 1, I guess, was more fluky, but you know what I mean? Like it just wasn't. It could have been way better, obviously, but I thought it was more fluky. But then when Kansas City came in, they just destroyed us, pretty much. Because so the first half I got to watch it on like a television because we were not driving, and we came back, and I was like, oh, this is the same team from last year, because I remember in the Baltimore game, in the Cincinnati game, in the Packers game, and there might have been someone else. We always came back in the fourth quarter. You know what I mean? And I was like, oh, we're coming back in the first half, same old team. We're gonna do a shootout in the second half, which it kind of was that, but the Chiefs just kept scoring, and we couldn't match it every time.
Yeah, it's just, and their offense may be, we don't know. I mean, they may be historically good. So, I mean, that's.
Oh, I see
certainly a
on Kansas.
possibility.
Yeah, I see what you're saying there.
So I don't know that it's that bad. I mean, I'm interested to see what they do against Tampa Bay. If they look bad for a second time in a row, because really, I understand it was Cleveland, but one of those touchdowns was because of a short field.
Right.
Well, actually, they scored defensively, one of them, and then the other one was a short field. So I mean, they didn't play terrible. Of course, the weather helped out them too.
Right. Yeah.
The ball. You really don't know what you got there, and then this offense may be the best offense in the league, and we're in the game. If you hadn't started slow, maybe
Right.
you win the game. So, I don't want to overreact or anything, but it sure doesn't look good. So I think this would be a big response week for him.
I hope.
I still think, worst case scenario is 9 wins. I think it's still a worst case that you could see, but maybe I'll change that up here as we go. But I just don't think they're that bad. I can't believe they're that bad.
I know, I understand. It does seem weird to believe like we have all this talent on offense, and like we do start out slow, and like we can't score with a younger offense, even though they're very talented also. And it just seems because like we only like Ben threw over 60 times, which I guess we had to, but that's ridiculous.
Well, I mean, that was just it. I was a little disappointed in Connor's production. I have him in a couple other leagues, and it's really not when you're down 21-0. Could have been 28-0.
Right? Yeah. There was either a holding or a pass interference in the
defensive holding. But you got to throw the ball to catch up, and I kind of wondered about in the second half when they came out. Kansas City went down and scored in like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't know why we just abandoned the run completely there. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more run mixed in there on that particular play. I mean, I don't know how many touches Connor got, but it couldn't have been a whole lot more than 10 if he even got that many.
I don't think he got that many rushing. I mean, he might have touched the ball that put him over. Caught the ball that put him over 10 touches. But like rushing attempts, he had under 10. I'm pretty positive about
I was
that.
thinking it was 8, but I don't know for sure. But yeah, you got to run the ball more than that. And you know, the Chiefs' defense, you know, they are suspect. So, you know, obviously they're not very. Of course, they are on the field a lot because the offense scores so fast. But
Right.
you know, I don't know. I just can't believe that the Steelers have fallen this far. Of course, then you look at last year too, and we've talked about this before. They really didn't win games by a large margin and kind of got lucky with a lot of kicks.
Correct.
You know, a lot
Yeah.
of field goals at the end. So
I mean, because they would go up, let's say like 14 plus points. They'd go down by. The other team would like couldn't put them away, you know what I mean, type thing. And then you know Ben Brown and Antonio offensively just went off and saved us pretty much every time, and we just couldn't. So
yeah,
I-
it remains to be seen, I guess.
I don't know.
Bottom line, but I'm not. I just can't believe that they would have fallen so far. So we'll wait and see.
If you kind of look at the playoff game versus the Jacksonville Jaguars, because we got blown out in that game to begin with. I mean, the score might have said we only lost by like 2 or 3 points, but it wasn't ever close.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, like, unfortunately, this might be what we're turning into, but I don't know. I hope not. But I think I hope not. So how do you think the Mountaineers are going to play Saturday?
Well, you know, I look for them to take care of business. I mean, Ole Miss really tore up. They just pummeled Kansas State. So I can't imagine that they come out and put up a fight. Of course, aside from that 2 or 3 year period where Kansas State was really good when we first got in the league,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the games haven't been decided by a whole lot. You know, they've all been within a touchdown, one way or the other. So, you know, historically they play us pretty tough, but I think the amount of talent we have this year is, you know, going to be hard to deal with for a lot of teams in the league.
Right.
As far as who's a contender and who's not, you know, I think it's basically a 4-team race at this point. You know, we haven't played anybody, so that gives me a little bit of concern by putting us in that group. But, you know, I think we have a lot of talent, so I'd say it's between us, Oklahoma State, and TCU, not necessarily in that order.
Right.
You know,
No, I totally agree with you.
I think we're kind of looking at that, and then things will sort of shake out as we go along here. I just hope, you know, Oklahoma State was a good team last year, and they had a solid year, but, you know, the hopes were higher for them. And then they kind of all started falling apart with that loss at TCU. Well, no, that was at home. They lost at home to TCU. So I just hope we don't drop a game to, you know, a very beatable league opponent.
No, I understand. I totally agree. I think
We'll see.
so. I don't know how bad Tennessee was, to be dead honest with you. I mean, I thought just based off their SEC team alone, they would have more talent, maybe be more prepared. But they do have new
I
coaching.
think they had a lot of talent. I mean, I don't think they were. I mean, they were a talented group of guys, but they just, you know, first-year coach, you know, first game under a new system.
Right.
You're just not going to perform very well, and I think that showed.
No, I gotcha. In the past, unfortunately, West Virginia teams, football or basketball, would kind of let teams stick around, if that makes sense. But the first game versus Tennessee, I felt like, even though at halftime it was like, I think it was pretty close. It might have been like 17-10. I don't know what the score was. I can't remember. You probably could. But then we blew them out, 40-14.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of adjustments, and I think you'll have to see the next step of development there with Dana. You know, is he going to be able to help Jake Spavital adjust the game plan after he sees what's working and what's not working? And, you should have, another year of people working together. You should be able to adjust things, fairly well as you move along there. So we'll see. I mean, that continuity makes a difference. Making changes in a 20-minute period is not easy to do. So if everyone's able to communicate and understand it.
I think this is the year that we don't really let Kansas State stick around, or they're close to us. I feel like I don't know. I haven't heard much about Kansas State, but I could be wrong. Obviously, we have to just wait and see.
Well, I mean, I don't be convinced. The wisdom says they're not very good.
Right, no.
Because they got smoked by Ole Miss at home. Now, I don't really know either what they're looking like. I was going to try and find the spread on that game.
I was talking to, I don't know who told me, I think it's like 16 points somehow.
Yeah, it's 16. So tells you what Vegas thinks of Kansas State. They don't think too damn much of them.
No, I got you.
Yeah, 16 points is a lot of points. Of course, we're at home. So.
Yeah, especially for a talented team especially for a team like Kansas State. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, well, we'll see what happens. If we are who we think we are, then we need to roll.
I have confidence that we will, but we'll just have to wait and see. I think it might be one of those things we might get too judgmental, like in the first half. I mean, you guys will be there, so it'll be a little different, but I'll be watching it at home, and I'll be too judgmental, but like, why did we do this? Why did we do that? But then I feel like after a while, with time, we'll just like blow them out, like you've been saying.
Yeah,
kind of what you've been saying.
Yeah, you're probably right. We'll probably be close until second half, and then hopefully we can make some changes and pull away. But yeah, Bill Snyder's been around a long time too, so he's going to make changes as well. Although they say he's not as involved, or what I've read about him says he's not as involved as he once was in game planning. So,
which probably is true, or I don't know how true. I mean, it's true, but I don't know how true it is. If that makes sense.
Yeah, he's probably not quite as involved as he was at one time. So
that makes sense. All right, so thanks for calling, and we'll talk next week. Let's go Mountaineers.
All right, let's go Mountaineers.
Sounds good. Bye.
Take it easy. Bye.
What's up?
Oh, not too much. How are you?
Not bad.
So, did you win last week?
No, I lost to Drew. I think like by 14 maybe or so.
Did
10 or 15.
How did Zeke play? Did he play really well?
He had an okay game. I don't think he's reached his potential, I guess, as one of the top 3 or 4 guys.
Right. No, I guess you're saying.
I'm still waiting on him to break through, I guess.
I mean, in theory, I guess if you would have won, or so Giles is the only undefeated team. Mike is the only team that hasn't won. Everyone else is 1-1. So in theory, I mean, I guess if you could, squeak out a win and he's still not performing well, it might not be an awful thing. You know what I mean?
No, it's a competitive league. There's a lot of good teams. But as far as Zeke goes, I think a lot of teams are focusing on the run because they don't have the weapons outside to catch the ball, really.
No, I got you. I think even though they had Des Bryant and Jason Witten, I think Dak relied a lot on Jason Witten because he could make that throw pretty easily. I'm sure he can make.
He was a big target for Romo too. I mean, he kept Tony Romo relevant for how many years?
Right. But Tony was a much better passer than Dak is.
That's true.
I think your defense should get you a lot of points this week versus Buffalo.
Yeah, that was the one I was gonna point out is my big expectations for the weekend. I think anybody that has a defense against Buffalo's got a good shot, and Minnesota's top 3 or 4 in the league. So
right, yeah. I mean,
they should put up a big number.
Correct. So I've been flipping around on defenses. First week, I made a huge mistake. Second week, I went with the Jets. They got me like 9 or 10 points, even though they lost. And then this week, I'm going with the Bears versus Arizona. But the Bears have an early bye. And I was like, okay, well, I'll just pick up a team this week for next week because I don't really want to get rid of the Bears because the Mac's playing really good, you know what I mean, next week. And I was trying to find a team, and Green Bay plays Buffalo the week the Bears have a bye. So I was like, pick them up. Even though Green Bay's defense is not Minnesota, it's still better than Buffalo.
Right.
I got you.
Yeah, they look good. I mean, Mac's just I think he's the best. You're hard to find somebody better than him right now on the defense anywhere. So.
Right. I mean, he's dominating still. I don't understand. So if money was the issue, I kind of get it. But they paid all that money to Derek Carr before he won anything.
Right.
Did they even make the play? Have they made the playoffs with him? I don't know.
Who's that?
Has Derek Carr made the playoffs?
I think they made it maybe 2 years ago. I'm not sure.
I feel like for some reason they played the Texans maybe, but I'm thinking about other stuff. But they gave him.
They were good 2 years ago, and then last year they had a letdown, missed the playoffs, and then they're looking like they're not going to make it this year either. So.
But I feel like obviously Mac's worth the money. I think. I mean, I'm assuming so. I feel like he, you know, messes up the other team's passing game in terms of sacks and disruptions and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be one of those transactions in history people look back and say that was, you know, I
Right.
don't even remember who the guy was that was drafted before Michael Jordan, but it's that sort of thing.
Oh, Sam Bowie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, you know.
I understand what you're saying. So I was talking to Giles, and I don't know if you can remember this necessarily because you usually do them all in a few leagues, but I guess last year supposedly he was undefeated, and then he played you and lost. But this week, so Giles is undefeated, and he beat me pretty handily week 1, and I can't remember last week. I think he did okay too, but like because he has Kamara, but like your team is pretty stacked to your defense also. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know if did he bring that up or?
No, I brought it up that he was 2-0, and then I'm like, oh, who you playing this week? And he's like DJ.
I kind of forgot, but
Yeah.
I'm kind of so with my team. You know, 1-1 after the first 2 weeks, I guess, isn't the end of the world. But I don't know, just looking for more out of Breeze, I guess.
He didn't play. He didn't play
if I
awful
played-
necessarily last week, right?
No, if I would have played Ryan, I'd have probably beaten Drew, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But who would have expected him to put up that kind of a performance against Carolina? You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So can't really take the heat for that one.
I gotcha. Did you play Sammy Watkins last week?
Nah, he's been on my bench,
I gotcha.
but he would have been a nice fit last weekend.
So we'll go a little off script. Well, I've done this with everyone so far. So what's your take on the Steelers this year?
I mean, right now it doesn't look good. I like them to get it together Monday night. I think Tampa's a little bit. They're kind of an aberration of what they really are.
No, that makes sense.
They're bound to hit a wall here. I don't think they're as good as what they've come out. So I like the Steelers Monday night in a fairly close game.
I feel like so with the Browns game, I think turnovers, the rain, we just played bad overall. That's kind of a fluke. But I think the Browns are maybe a little bit better than what they used to be, or a lot better.
Yeah, I
then
would agree with that.
With the Chiefs, I was talking to Drew, and I think I talked to Chase about this, and maybe I talked to Mike about it also. So they go up 21-0, and then I'm like, okay, whatever. I guess we're not that good. Blah 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 blah. Let's try to sit here and enjoy this. And then we come back, and I think it was like 19-21 at half or something. And I was like, oh, this is just the same team that, you know, came back on Cincinnati, Green Bay, and like Baltimore. And I think there might have been another team, you know what I mean? Like, oh, we're just going to come back and we're going to play well in the second half. And we didn't, unfortunately. But I didn't get to watch the second half. I just listened to it. But Tampa Bay, week 1, blew out the Saints real quick. You know what I mean? Like, they went up like similar, like 21-0. And I feel like if we could just somehow stay with Tampa Bay if they do well, maybe because like the Chiefs blew us out and then we just had to play catch up the whole time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I'm not very confident with where we're at defensively. The points are there obviously, but you know, you're seeing deja vu with what happened, you know, with the Jacksonville game in the playoffs last year.
Right, yeah, and it's not
Too
good.
many mistakes to overcome, you know, what you're giving up is too much compared to what you're putting up.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, I don't like the style that we're going by, but this is, I guess, today's the NFL with the, you know, just the air it out game up and down. I feel like the Steelers have regressed defensively under Tomlin since he took over after Cowher left. And, you know, it'll be 10 years since we won, you know, Super Bowl 43. And
Right.
That game, it came down to, if you don't remember, you know, well, I know you remember, but,
Yeah,
you know, we had to come back in the end and throw it.
because we give up that big touchdown to Larry Fitzgerald wide open.
Right.
Like it was just like maybe a post, but it was more like a slant type thing, wide open. He just flew past everyone. And
It
then
seems like we've been in that form ever since then, where we're trying to come from behind.
I don't.
We're digging ourselves out of a hole, you know. But,
Right.
I don't know. Baltimore's not very good. Cleveland's still beatable. So I mean, I think if they can, you know, get it together, it's way too early. The division's still there. And
Right.
The wild card's there, obviously, and I would say right now the biggest threat's probably Cincy to the division.
No, I totally agree with you. I thought, unfortunately, after week 1 that the Ravens were pretty good, but it turns out that the Bills are just that bad. And then Cincinnati actually kind of dominated Indianapolis. Not dominated, but like they made the plays to win the game, which is not really their forte a lot. And then versus the Ravens, they just came out the gate shooting. You know what I mean? So it was nice because then I knew the Ravens weren't that good. Because I don't know.
I think we'll be all right here these next 2 weeks. I like us to get it turned around, and then I think we have a bye. Week 5 or no? Is that week 7?
I think so. Yes.
Not too long after that. So, you know, get a couple wins here under our belt, and then get a little time off, and then hopefully get healed up and get ready for the mid to late part of the stretch. So we can position ourselves for January, hopefully.
I hope so, but I don't. It's obviously we can't make major changes because you can't like change the players, obviously. But maybe a scheme we need to figure out because it looked. I mean, so the Chiefs. Drew brought this up. So the Chiefs could have like like one of the best offenses in the league this year. It seems like it's going to happen, but it could sputter out. But I feel like our defense, it was almost like a 7-on-7 at times, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like they were wide
There's
open.
not much. It looks like people are confused. You know, it's unorganized.
Right. Yeah.
You know, there's just no structure to it right now.
But
I don't think the middle of the defense got shored up that much better with them adding Bostic. Shazier being out, it's really hurt everything. You don't have your keystone guys like Polamalu and Harrison. And
right.
You don't have those guys there anymore, and there's nobody there right now in their youth that showed that they're capable of doing that. I think Shazier was on his way, but that's probably not going to happen now. So
I got you. So talk about the Mountaineers on Saturday. Hype them up.
I'm kind of weary with us coming off of the week, the bye. I guess if you want to call it.
No, I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
We didn't play, and I guess Kansas State maybe not being as good as what people expect. There's a lot of money thrown on WVU side. I think the line jumped up to like 17 this weekend for the game, and I think we should. I think we'll struggle a little bit early, but I think we should probably cover because they're missing some pieces in the secondary, and I would say that would bode well for us.
No, I agree. I was talking to Mike. Mike was the first person I called, and then I've talked to a few other people like Chase and Drew and Alex, and I guess Kansas State's offense is ranked garbagely, like they're way up in the hundreds or something like that. Like they're very bad this year.
I think they're still indecisive on who their quarterback actually is. They've been rotating to a guy in and another guy in, so they don't really have anybody set in stone. So.
Well, I remember that kind of hurt us 2 years ago because they were flip-flopping between quarterbacks, and they had this one that was more mobile, and then he kind of we couldn't really stop him, unfortunately. But I don't think this year they haven't necessarily have that guy, but we'll just have to see till 2 days from now.
No, I think we'll be all right. I mean, it could be close for a while, but I like us to probably cover in the end.
No, I got you. I know it's way too early, but I'm over-exaggerating on the Steelers. But I think after the week 1 versus Tennessee, I think a lot of times West Virginia teams would let teams stick around, and I feel like we just, took care of business in the second half. So I feel like we should do something like
Right.
that with Kansas State.
And I kind of look at Tennessee and Kansas State as kind of similar philosophies. They're kind of this defense first, run heavy, and like you said, they're pretty poor offensively. So
Right, and we're not.
that always helps our cause. So I think we'll be in good shape.
No, I got you. I agree. Yeah, sounds good. So thanks for calling. I'll talk to you next week. Go Mountaineers.
Later.
See ya.
Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, not too much. How are you?
Not bad. Just hanging out.
No, I got you. So you won the second week, correct? You won your matchup?
I won the first week. I lost
Oh, you won last. Okay.
to the guy who was undefeated.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, that doesn't make sense, but I understand what you're talking about now. Was it close? I can't remember.
I think I lost by like 10 points.
Which is not awful.
Not bad, but it was Tom Brady had a bit of an off day, and my defense the bed. The Ravens played like crap, and then Antonio Brown had a bad day. So that was like the trifecta, which killed me.
I think actually, so the guy you're playing this week, he has Antonio Brown. If that makes sense.
I'm sorry, not Antonio Brown.
Julio Jones?
Yeah, Julio Jones.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Okay, I got you.
I have Antonio Brown, so I get confused sometimes.
No, that makes sense. That's totally fine. Did you try to pick up anyone in waivers this week? I don't think you did based off your team.
I didn't pick up any waivers this week. I made some moves the initial week, and my big move obviously was getting Connor before the season started, but I haven't really made any moves in all this past week.
No, I got you.
I mean, I looked around, but there wasn't really anything.
Yeah, so I
relevant.
tried to get his first name's James, and I'm not going to butcher his last name because I don't know it. But the San Francisco 49ers running back, I tried to pick up him. That didn't work.
I did try to get him on waivers too. I missed on him too. Who got him?
Gabby got him, and
Well,
then
that's one thing I've never fully understood. Is it the person that lost the worst? Who wins the waiver?
so it was always like this thing that you kind of technically want to lose week one because then you'll be ranked worse and then you can pick up all the players. It's kind of like that through the first few weeks. But I think it's based off your record and also maybe based off how many moves you've made to that point.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just never fully understood the formula that determines who actually wins.
But I'm pretty sure your wins and losses have a lot to do with it.
Gotcha. Because if everyone's doing their research week to week and paying attention, most of us are probably trying to claim the same people every week.
Right. Yeah, because there's one team that's undefeated, and there's another team that's 0-2, and then everyone else is 1-1.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty even right now in the base game.
Have you had any So did you didn't start Telvin Coleman week one, right?
I did not. I decided to start him week 2 because the starting running back, his name is eluding me right now.
Devontae Freeman.
Yeah, Devontae Freeman was injured. And I think from now on I'm probably going to start Coleman because he's always good for like 15 touches because they split carries. And he almost always seems to find a way to score a touchdown. A swing pass or a short yardage run.
Right.
So he's pretty good for like 7 to 10 points. So I think I'm just going to start him most of the season.
No, that makes sense. I hate that's weird about the split carry in fantasy.
Yeah, and so many teams are doing that now. Like there are very few teams anymore that have a true feature back that they use for like 25, 30 carries.
So
He's one of the only teams that do it. That's why Connor's so viable right now.
Mm-hmm. So I have Chris Thompson and Adrian Peterson. They're both the running backs for the Redskins. And I don't think I didn't start either of them last week, but I won by a good bit, so it didn't really matter at the point. But AP is projected to get more, but Chris Thompson has always got more than he has, I think, average-wise.
He catches passes. He catches.
Right.
That's what gets him more points.
Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping that the
AP might get more touches running the ball. He's a great ball carrier, but you would never see him catch a pass.
Right. I'm kind of hoping that the Packers kind of blow them out real quick, so they have to come in and keep passing, so they'll use him more. Chris Thompson was.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, both. That's a hard play. Like almost, they use them both. You could almost play both of them. Like it's crazy, but it might work.
Right. I hate that. I mean, obviously it could work, yes, but then I feel like somehow sometimes people get like touches taken away from them, like the hot hand type thing. Yeah.
It's one of those things where you have to do the right matchup
Mm-hmm.
to do that. Like you don't want to do that on a week-to-week basis. But it's really getting hard to pick running backs based on their usage level now. Like they're used so sporadically. Hell, some teams look at the Patriots use like 4 running backs now. It's like none of those guys are going to get more than 4 or 5 points, maybe.
Right. Yeah.
It's just, and that's what I'm supposed to touchdown. That's like playing Russian roulette to determine who's going to score the touchdown.
That's what I hate. Like, that's what is fluky about sometimes certain players because, like, let's say you had a wide receiver, since we're not in the PPR league, like the first week, like Odell Beckham, he had like over 100 yards, but I think Emmanuel Sanders had under 100 yards, but he had a touchdown. So he had like 19 points or something, but in theory, Odell kind of played, you know what I mean? So I hate that kind of stuff week to week.
Like, yeah, I like the ones. See, my other league gives you
Points per
like,
reception.
points per yards and per reception. So everybody's scored. There's way more point totals. It's always like almost every team seems to be over 100 points. But I think it's more fair that way because you're really getting credit for players are getting credit for everything they're doing.
No, that makes sense. So the reason we didn't do it this year, we haven't done it for a few years, but we used to do PPR when we first started doing leagues together, and it was pretty even. But then, like, I kind of got lucky. The year Calvin Johnson went off, so this was like 4 or 5 years ago. Like he went off, had like the most receiving yards and stuff. We were in the PPR league, and like the championship game I was in, I scored like over 200 points, and it was just the 1 week elimination. So it was like, okay, we're never doing this again.
Well, yeah, I guess I can see that. Maybe it brings everybody back to the same level.
No, I think that was more fluky. I feel like the reception thing, like, so obviously if both teams are being scored PPR, then it shouldn't matter. You know what I mean? You should do whatever you need to.
It's the same system.
Right. So it was more like the final score, like our last game, that was more like fluky than, yeah. So what do you think of this?
I tend to, the leagues I've played in both times, I tend to prefer the PPR leagues.
So what is your take on the Steelers this year so far? I know it's early, but I'm unfortunately.
I don't. I think the offense is going to be fine. They started finding the rhythm in that Kansas City game. I think the offensive line's hurt right now as far as some injuries, but I really think the offense will be fine. Whether they have to pass or run, they'll find a way to get it done. They're good for 21 to 30-some points a game, I think, this season.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is, I'm pretty sure that's about what the defense is going to give up in the game if they don't pull their head out of us. Like, there's good players on that side of the ball. It's just they're not playing well together right now. Even in the Cleveland game where they had a bunch of sacks and all that stuff, they weren't really, they were still giving up plays to Cleveland offense. They really don't suck.
Right.
And this past week, they made Mahomes look like he's the second coming of Dan Marino. And I know he's going to be good, but he's still basically a rookie quarterback.
Correct, yeah.
Up those kind of numbers. I mean, to give up 6 touchdown passes is just...
He only had 5 incomplete passes. He had more touchdowns than incompletions.
Oh, yeah, okay. More touchdown passes than incompletions. That's got to be some kind of record. That's insane.
Right.
So, I'm watching the Browns right now play the Jets, and they can barely move the ball. So it's like, it's obvious that our defense isn't the greatest. And they don't need to be great. I'm not expecting 2005 defense, but they need to be at least middle of the pack for us to have any chance of doing anything this season.
Yeah.
And I'm not seeing it. No, I'm just, they're not consistent enough.
Like I watched all of the Browns game, and we were up and down, unfortunately, and we got the tie, which I guess is okay if we tie another team in the division and it'll count as a win. But the Chiefs game, I only got to watch the first half. We were in like the Columbus area, so I could kind of listen to it here and there. The first half of the game, I've been talking to my other buddies on this prior to calling you. when we came back and it was like 19-21 at half, it reminded me of like the Ravens game, the Packers game, I think with the Cincinnati game, and I feel like there was another game we came back. You know what I mean? I was like, oh,
Yeah.
the same old team. We're just going to come back. We're going to get together in the second half. And the Chiefs just took care of business, and we couldn't really always
Well,
capitalize
that's
on.
the thing. Like, that's always been our MO. Maybe we start slow. Maybe we start slow in a season. We start slow in a half. But we always are good at finishing games. I'm not seeing that good at finishing games so far this season.
Yeah,
I'm seeing, if anything, the second half has been worse than the first half of these games. So, I don't know. Like, yeah, it's almost like you can X out the first game because they played in a fucking monsoon.
mm-hmm.
And, you can't really read that. But I thought the offense looked pretty good in this Kansas City Chiefs game. But giving up 40-plus points, I don't care.
It doesn't matter. I mean,
it isn't going to fly.
right, yeah. I mean, even if we did match them necessarily, it would have been one of those things who had the ball last type thing.
Even if we won 45-42, I'd still be about the Chiefs.
Oh, exactly. I mean, it would people, but even if we would have won, it'd be less pressure on them. Like they would, like people wouldn't be as hard as maybe they are now, which I think they should be.
Glad they lost because now they're probably going to put in a very weak practice and be so pissed off they're going to kill the Buccaneers, and I hope they do, and maybe get on the right track. Maybe they needed to lose to really realize we got to go together here.
I guess you. I'm nervous a little bit about the Bucs game because
Very nervous.
because I feel what we've been seeing defensively is unfortunately what we might be all year, and the Bucs
It
versus
might not be fixable.
right, and the Bucs versus the Saints, they came out fast, like they came up like 21-0, and I'm nervous that'll be kind of like the Chiefs game for us, and we'll start out slow and then have to play catch up, and
Yeah, it's very likely it could end up being like that because the Buccaneers are playing like they're a legit playoff team right now.
mm-hmm.
Like, this is not the Buccaneers of last year or 2 years ago. Like, they look like a legit team right now. The only good thing is their defense is giving up a lot of points, too.
Correct.
It's Magic has been scoring a shit ton of points.
Right.
So we can score on them. It's just like the Kansas City game. We're going to be able to keep up with that scoring. Because never we've been as good for a few drives a game where he just the bed.
Right, yeah, and then
So, can you keep up?
so did you get to watch the second half of the? Oh, you said I remember you talking about work, but unfortunately,
I watched a little bit of it. It's one of those things where it's just like, once I knew the result, I couldn't really bring myself to watch it.
no, that makes sense. So in the Browns game, I don't know when this was in terms of when Ben hurt his elbow, but unfortunately, Ben and AB didn't look on the same page. I remember.
Ben has been a little off with him so far this year, and I don't really know why.
And then I don't know if you've noticed this more, but like Juju Smith, like Juju, I don't know why I say his full name. He's been wide open at times. It's like, how is he so open? You know what I mean?
I really think the factor is he's getting better at running his routes. He's a big guy, so
Right.
he gets separation off the line of scrimmage, and he runs a lot of those short crossing routes. So if he can get a push off a smaller cornerback, he can get off it really quick.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think it's because they roll a lot of coverage to AB.
Correct. Yeah.
And what's going to end up happening if Juju keeps going off for 100 yards and a touchdown or two a game, they're going to start evening out coverage and realize, we got to cover this guy too, or at least give even coverage to both players. And then AB will start going off again. He's just got to be patient. And it annoys me a little bit that he's acting like a child, but I know that's just how he is. But it'll come back to him because Juju can't keep going off for 100 plus yards because they're eventually going to roll back coverage back his way.
Right.
And then AB will go off. It'll even out. I think their passing game's going to be fine. And eventually their running game's okay, but I would much rather have Bell in there too. But that's obviously not going to happen, it doesn't seem.
Have you read anything more? Like, has he said publicly, like, hey, I'm coming back in 5 weeks instead of 10, or is it still most likely he's not coming back till week 10?
I would imagine. I think our bye is week 6 or 7 or something. It's not quite to that 2 week, but I think he'll come back up to the bye.
No, I got you.
He's just trying to save his body, and then he wants to make a playoff run after that. Like, I think he still legitimately wants to make a run in the ring before he gets out of here, but he's obviously worried about getting hurt.
I guess that's fair, but it's hard as a fan or as a teammate, Well, I mean, I'm not his teammate, but as a fan, you're like,
I can see it both ways. I really can.
mm-hmm.
I understand him wanting to play, and I think he's legitimately right now, if not the best running back in the league all around, he's top 3.
Easily, yeah.
The only reason the running back market is depressed right now is because you really haven't had a great running back for the last 5 to 7 years. Adrian Peterson in his prime, but he was getting paid close to $15 million in his prime.
Right,
And
yeah.
he fell off, and he wasn't getting paid that. But there's like 5 or 6 guys now that are really at that potentially Adrian Peterson level. It's just they're all just came out in the last 3 to 5 years, so none of them are on second contract yet.
Correct,
So
yeah.
it really was up to. I understand
Bell.
Bell wanting to reset the market and thinking he's worth that. He really is worth that. He just unfortunately came in at a time where the market was depressed for running backs,
Mm-hmm.
and that's really hard to say. Oh, you're paying running backs $7-8 million now. Why do you deserve 15? Well, that's because my market value for a great running back says I should make that. And I don't disagree with him. I think he would have signed that contract if it had been guaranteed money. And they offered him $70 million over 5 years, which is about a little over $15 million a year. I don't think the money per year was the problem. I think it was they offered like $17 million guaranteed. I think he wanted like $35-40 million guaranteed.
No, I see what you're saying.
He wanted like that 3 to 4 seasons of guaranteed money, which is what most players want. So I understand what he's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just always been a Steeler philosophy they don't offer any players other than quarterbacks a lot of guaranteed money. They just don't do it. A lot of teams do, and you've got several teams now offering full contracts guaranteed. So that's a preference of the Steelers. They like to be conservative.
I got you. I think they
weren't going to budge on that at all.
Yeah. The thing that kind of bothers me as a fan but I get everything you say. It makes totally 100%. I get that. If he wasn't a Steeler, it wouldn't bother me. But the thing is, like, maybe based off our defense, it's not a big deal. Maybe we're not going to be that good. But I feel like based off our, Ben and AB, obviously it sounds cliche as hell, but they're not getting any younger. So, like, I want to strike on the opportunity now.
This is our year to win. And this is probably the last window to win this year, legitimately. We're being real with ourselves with AB and even Ben, because they're both getting older. And they're definitely, without having a marquee running back, it's not going to be as easy. And Connor's good, but he just hasn't proven he can do it over a whole year. Bell is a proven commodity.
Right.
And you always want to go with a proven commodity.
No, I got you.
And it's one of those things where I as a fan, it breaks my heart because I love watching the kid. He's a great player. He's being kind of a douchebag on social media, but a lot of these young players these days are like that. I can't necessarily. He's not alone in that.
Right.
But on the field, he's a tremendous player. He works hard. He's a good teammate.
Mm-hmm.
But he's watching out for himself and his family right now. And me being a hard worker, entrepreneurial person that provides for his family, you probably understand this more as you get older. Like, in the end, what comes first is yourself and your family.
No, that makes sense.
The company you work for, despite your hobbies and your friends, what comes first is your family. And we got to remember, to Bell, the Steelers were just his employer.
No, that totally makes sense.
The corporation he works for, just like we work for HealthSouth. Like, it's no different. We tend to lose sight of that as fans.
Right.
But he's still a kid just trying to get his money at the end of the day. And I don't necessarily like how he's gone about it, but I can't blame him for what he's doing.
No, that makes sense. But it was great talking to you, and thanks for calling. I'll call you next week. Sound good?
No problem, man. I'll talk to you next week.
Hey, thank you so much.
No problem.
Bye. But I'd like to thank everyone for listening. You should go out and subscribe to our YouTube page, Benjamin's Dream. Our podcast is also available on Podbean, iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play. But I'd like to thank everyone for listening, and same time next week. Thank you. Bye.